So we're getting close to that time of year. WWDC just wrapped up, and we're getting closer to September, which means two things: new iPhones and new iOS. Now, at WWDC, Apple did announce the beta of iOS 13. Now, keep in mind, it's not a public-facing beta just yet. It's private, but I managed to get the beta of iOS 13 installed on an iPhone XR I had lying around. So in this video, we're going to talk about some features I've already experienced with iOS 13 and some features I'm looking forward to but haven't experienced just yet. Let's get to it. And before we get into it, guys, it's important to keep in mind that this is a private beta, which means this is almost like alpha type build software. So I'm not going to be able to give you detailed facts on the performance of the phone, battery life, things that you're used to in general overviews when it comes to software. And another thing to keep in mind is some of the things that I've experienced, I have actually experienced, but some of the features we're going to touch on, I haven't actually seen yet just because they're not built into the software yet. So those are going to be more of things that I'm really looking forward to. Now, with that being said, let's start. Now, let's start off by talking about performance estimates released by Apple. Now, like I said, this is like pre-release software, which means I can't get that great of a feel on the performance because, truth be told, this beta is ridden with bugs. But Apple is claiming that on iOS 13, once it finally releases to the public, apps are going to load up to 2 times faster. Face ID is going to be 30% quicker. Apps are going to be smaller in terms of download size and update size, which means two things. You're going to have less space taken up on your phone, and apps are just going to download and update quicker, which is also nice. So iOS 13 should have a really nice performance bump. Now, in terms of performance, I've actually noticed, the only thing I've noticed so far is the faster Face ID unlock compared to my XS Max that still runs iOS 12. So that's something you'll notice, but everything else I just haven't seen yet. I just hope Apple's correct on those estimates. Now, I know I can't be the only one excited about this feature, but the QuickType keyboard now has a new feature called Quick Path. Wait a minute, QuickType? Is that the name of the keyboard?
I guess it is.
Well, that's stupid. I'm not gonna call it that. So the built-in keyboard now has a feature called Quick Path, and that essentially just means you can now swipe with the built-in keyboard in order to text. Now, I wish I could say this is a new feature. It's new to iOS, but Android has had swipe texting for how long? Forever? It seems like forever.
The Flintstones had it.
The Flintstones had swipe keyboard on Android, guys. So actually, that's a good question for you guys. How long has Android had swipe keyboard? Let me know in the comment section down below. It's been long overdue for iOS. I'm glad it's here, finally. So this next feature, when I found it online on Apple's website, it sounds really, really exciting, but it also sounds really confusing based on the way Apple describes it. In fact, it's so confusing that I had to put the phone down to describe this feature to you guys. So it's called battery optimization. Now, according to Apple, they've optimized the way the iPhone charges with iOS 13, and it uses machine learning to detect your charging habits in order to prolong the phone from charging past 80% until the phone knows you're gonna need a full battery. Now, the reason behind this is to extend the iPhone's battery life. So we're all familiar with Apple's battery gate, right? The whole issue like a year or two back where all of a sudden everyone realized, oh, my iPhone battery dies after a couple years, and everyone rushed to the Apple store to get their batteries replaced for $29. It was so big, Apple had an entire replacement program set in place for it. I guess this is maybe their answer to see if they can get their batteries to last longer than, I don't know, 1 or 2 years, even though batteries are wearable parts, so it's understandable. But I'm having trouble figuring out how this feature is gonna work. I don't know if it's gonna be one of those features where through machine learning, the phone is like, okay, you take the phone off charge almost every morning at 6:30 a.m., so I'm going to charge up to 80% throughout the night, and then at 5:30 a.m., I'm gonna start charging past 80, so right when you're about to take it off charge, I hit maximum battery charge like 5 to 10 minutes before. I really don't know. That's my best guess. All I know is if Apple manages to pull this off and they can optimize charging to extend how healthy your battery is over time, that's something really cool. And I really hope they're able to pull this off because it sounds great. I just don't know how they're going to implement it. Now, this feature sounds awesome because security, mainly with mobile phones and large companies, has been a pretty hot topic recently. This one's called Sign In with Apple. Now, Apple takes security very seriously. That doesn't even have to be evident on iOS 13. It goes several years back. Apple genuinely cares about their consumers' privacy more so than other companies like Google or Facebook. Now, Sign In with Apple is a unique way for Apple to give you more control whenever you visit a website or use an application that requires you to sign in with some sort of profile in order to use their goods or services. So if you've ever visited a website that says sign in with Facebook, or you'll see a button that says sign in with Google, you'll now start to see a button that says sign in with Apple, and Apple basically lets you take back a lot of the information that companies like Google or Facebook may be selling to third parties without you really knowing. So with Sign In with Apple, the only options you have to share are your name and your email address. Apple will not pull any other profile information and give it to anyone else. Now here's the cool thing. If you don't even want to share your email, you have the choice for Apple to create a custom unique email to use specifically for that app or website, and anything that you may get from that app or website to that email is then forwarded to your legit email. So you don't even have to share your email if you don't want to. I really like this because companies like Huawei need to look at stuff like this and understand that consumers who buy phones really care about their privacy.
Shots fired.
And this last one, and it's arguably my favorite feature, even though it's purely aesthetic, is iOS is finally getting a full-fledged dark mode. Now, we've seen this work really well in macOS Mojave. I've got two 15-inch MacBook Pros with Touch Bar, and both of those strictly run dark mode. I don't even know what light mode is anymore whenever it comes to macOS, and I'm not going to know what it is anymore whenever it comes to iOS. So yeah, Apple's bringing out dark mode. All of their native applications are going to support it once iOS 13 becomes public facing. Unfortunately, with this version of the beta, I don't even have access to a lot of the pre-installed Apple applications. It just doesn't let me open them. Like I said, this beta is really, really pre-release and really, really buggy. But for the system apps that are present, I do have dark mode turned on, and it looks really, really awesome. Now, if you're the type of person that likes to schedule dark mode, like let's say whenever it gets dark outside because you're that cool of a person, you also have that option as well. And Apple has brought 3 or 4 new wallpapers that will adjust the colors based on the theme you choose for your device. So yes, purely aesthetic. It doesn't do anything in terms of performance or overall functionality, but dark mode has been long overdue. And out of everything I've talked to you guys about, it's sad to say, but this is the feature I'm looking forward to most and have so far enjoyed the most on the beta. I'm sorry. And now for some honorable mentions. Now, these are really, really cool features. I'm also excited about these, but I had to kind of just pick a select few that I'm really excited about, but it's not to take away from any of these other features that I'm about to talk about. Now, rounding off the honorable mentions list is a redesigned Photos application and enhanced photo and video editing capabilities in iOS 13. So yeah, the Photos app has been revamped. There's a new interface. Basically, your gallery now takes up the entire screen. It looks really nice. As you're scrolling through the gallery, you'll start to see that some pictures or videos are larger than others, and the smaller ones are built around those larger photos and videos. It looks really nice. It looks really clean. And if you've taken live photos or videos, those will play on mute as you're scrolling through your gallery. So the new Photos app looks really awesome. And in terms of video editing and photo editing capabilities, there's tons of new ones built into iOS 13. I'm going to try and show you guys as many as possible on the video footage. But my favorite feature, I'm sure there's a lot of you out there who have been waiting for this too. You can now rotate a video, and that's built in and native to iOS. So can I get an amen for just that? HomeKit Secure Video. Now here's the thing about recording videos with HomeKit. Prior to iOS 13, whenever you recorded a video, it would send that video to whatever servers were based on the application that you were recording. It would then render that video, process that video, shoot it back to your iPhone or whatever iOS device you're using in order for you to then re-watch whatever you've recorded. Now, with iOS 13, that's going to change. All of the rendering, all of the processing that comes with HomeKit video recording is now going to be done on the iCloud and then securely pushed back to your device, so that potentially sensitive information that you have won't be transferred to so many different endpoints. It'll be securely stored either in iCloud and sent back to your phone or directly on your phone itself. Revamped Apple Maps. So Apple Maps has not always had the best reputation. Full disclosure, I have 2 or 3 iPhones. I have Google Maps installed on every single one of them, and I have never trusted Apple Maps to get me anywhere, but I feel like Apple knows this, and they're working to change it. So, revamped Apple Maps. Basically, streets and cities are now going to be much more detailed. Buildings are going to be more accurate. Parks are going to look more detailed. And Apple is introducing their own version of Google Street View. That's not Google Street View. That's better looking than Google Street View, if that makes sense. So yeah, Apple Maps is also getting a revamp, but I don't know if I'm going to use it yet. I'm going to have to wait to see how it actually works before I pick it over Google Maps. iMessage. So obviously iMessage is it's not even probably, iMessage is the best messaging platform on the planet, in my opinion, but it's fact. But on a serious note, iMessage is getting design and performance improvements, and one really cool feature that Apple is bringing to it in iOS 13 is the ability to share your name and a contact photo either at the start of a conversation or after a conversation has began with either just your contacts list or anyone that you message. So this kind of takes the whole awkward phase out of, I don't know, if you get a new phone number, or let's say you get a new phone and for whatever reason your contacts don't transfer over properly. If you send someone a message and they don't have that number saved, you can now follow it up by sending your name and a contact photo so they know who you are, so there's not that awkward new phone who dis type message. Now, if you don't want to send them a photo, you can actually send them your Memoji. Don't send people your Memoji, just send them a photo. That's just getting ridiculous, but it's still cool and I'm glad it's here. Improved Control Center shortcuts. So if any of you guys use an Android phone, you know that whenever you slide down your notification tray, you'll see kind of quick icons. Apple has their own version of this too. If you're on an iPhone 10, you swipe down from the top right corner and you'll notice that you have quick access to things like Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, your location, things like that. Now, previously on iOS 12, the only thing you could do is actually tap that button to either turn that feature or service on or off. But with iOS 13, you can now push and hold, or you can do some sort of form of 3D touch, and it'll essentially bring up additional information in regards to what you long pressed or hard pressed on. So if you long press or hard press on the Wi-Fi icon, for example, it brings up all the available Wi-Fi networks near you. And it does the same thing for Bluetooth and location. So you get where I'm going with this. And the reason why I brought up Android is if you long press on a quick setting toggle on Android, it basically takes you into the settings for that particular feature. Whereas on iOS, it kind of pops out using the whole 3D touch thing. So it's cool. And rounding off the honorable mentions list, this is for all of my gamers out there, including myself, because I love gaming. iOS 13 now brings the ability for your iPhone or whatever device you're running it on to be compatible with Xbox One S controllers and PlayStation 4 controllers. I'm assuming this is for Apple Arcade. I'm not going to use Apple Arcade, but if you are, at least you can now use your console controller. I hope that makes you feel better about using Apple Arcade. So that just about does it, guys. Those are some of the features that I've already experienced running the pre-production iOS 13 beta, and features that I haven't experienced yet, but I can't wait to experience as this beta matures and ultimately goes into full release software that's public facing. Now, I'm really excited for iOS 13. I feel like it's the perfect balance between what iOS 11 tried to accomplish and what iOS 12 did accomplish. So when Apple brought out iOS 11, it was chock full of new features, but it was a hindrance on performance and it was bug-ridden for almost its entire life until iOS 12 came out. And when iOS 12 came out, Apple decided to focus on, hey, let's go back to the roots. Let's not try and bring out so many new features in a new operating system. Let's just focus on performance and stability improvements. And iOS 13 has a lot of performance improvements, but it's also packing a lot of new features. So I'm really hoping Apple gets the release of iOS 13 right, because if they do, iOS is already a world-class software and it's just going to get better. And I'm really excited about it. And as this beta matures, we can continue to make update videos about newer features that we may experience that we really couldn't cover in this video because they're just not built into the software yet. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, you know what to do. Please hit the like and subscribe button down below. Get at me in the comment section. Let me know what you thought. Reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.